Well, welcome, Angela. We've been a bit of a rush getting up the stairs. We also have Emma Wolf with us. Now, Emma's the communications officer, and she's just here to listen in, but she can feel free if Angela to have a word in there. I'm sure she will. Angela Egdell is the Director of Care at the Hospice. Well, maybe start, Angela, by saying that a lot of people have heard of hospices, but don't quite know what goes on in terms of things. How do people get to become an admitted person for a start?
Well, thank you for asking me to come and talk to everybody. St Oswald's has been in existence for about 32 years. We opened in 1986, but following on a pattern of hospices across the country, which were developed, modern hospices, we think, the late 60s, the work of Dame Cicely Saunders. It's St Christopher's Hospice in London, and it was very much around the care of people with pain and symptoms as they were approaching the end of their lives. The original work was always around cancer and patients with cancer, but as time's gone on, we've all realised there's lots of people who die and reach the end of their lives with lots of other conditions who are equally deserving of our care and support. So hospices are there to provide care and support for everybody in the last however long their life is, because the thing with end-of-life care is none of us know how long we're going to be here for. So we might think we're going to be here forever. We might think we're not going to be here for very long at all, but the reality is we don't know. But if things get tough and people need care and support at that last part of their life, that's where the hospice movement comes in.
But what sort of age range? I mean, one might be forgiven for presuming that they're all sort of middle-aged or to elderly. Is there a broader range than that? Does it depend on the condition?
Yeah, hospices are a very broad church, so I'll talk mainly about St Oswald's. And St Oswald's, we provide care because we have a children and young adult service. We provide care really from the cradle to the grave. So our youngest service users is the term we talk about are babies, and our oldest would be up to 99 and beyond. The adult unit, which is probably the most familiar to people, the adult inpatient unit, yes, the majority of patients are probably 60 plus, but we do regularly see patients younger, 25, 30, 40, because there are so many conditions now, and people, particularly with malignancies, with cancers, unfortunately it seems to happen at an earlier age now. And then we have a lot of patients with neurological conditions like motor neuron disease and progressive supranuclear palsy and multi-systems atrophy, and again we're seeing a younger cohort of patients there.
When it comes to somebody coming into the hospice itself or prior to that, how is the communication between you and them rather than the communication in general? How are they approached? How do they know they're coming?
Okay, if you're an adult with an illness, and a life-limiting illness, you are technically the responsibility of the health service. So we would take referrals from GPs, from hospital consultants, and they're often guided by nurses, social workers, other doctors, junior doctors. For the children and young adult service, if you're a child with a life-limiting condition, social care also have responsibility. So we have a joint approach with health and social care, again for referrals for children and young people. We do get contacted by families. We'll often pick the phone up and ask us, how my mother's ill, my grandfather's not well, and we will always give advice and support, but we would refer people back to the GP normally, or a member of the medical team to make that contact. So it would be a medical-to-medical referral, and once we get the details through, then we would be in contact with the family to say, your GP's referred you, we have got a bed on Monday, are you all right, is that okay to come in then, and organise transport and the like.
We've almost come to the end of the first hour, believe it or not, but I think just enough time to ask you, how is your approach to the patient, or do you call them patients? We
do talk about patients, yes. We tend to talk about children and young adults and adult patients.
Are they aware that why they're there?
I would say our adult patients, yes, unless they have a condition that affects how their brain is functioning. They do know, and most people are very well aware when they come to hospice that it means time is getting short. And our approach is always to work alongside the patient and the family about what's best for them. And that's regardless of what age or at what stage of the condition they're at.
Well, thanks for that. We're going to have a little break now. You've chosen a piece of music by U2.
I have.
And it's got quite a long time. So you want to tell us how you came to that one?
I'm a big U2 fan. The family are. My husband is. And this is a relatively new song by them. But actually, it sums it up for me because it's love is bigger than anything in its way. And actually, that sums up the hospice movement to me because the love conquers all, and about being alongside people and helping them at such a difficult time in their life. I see so much love given by staff, by volunteers. By the whole organisation and the whole hospice movement, so it's a special piece of music for me.
Well, here's a chance to hear it. Here's U2. Now we're back with Angela Egdell from St Oswald's Hospice. We finished talking about broadly what the hospice is about. Can we talk a little bit about relatives that come to visit? Yeah. What's your sort of visiting, and what if people live a long way away from you, from the hospice?
Yeah. And this is part of the trying to personalise the care of the hospice to the patient and the family. So all of our units, residential units, the children's unit and the adult unit have accommodation where families can stay with us, particularly the children's parents often might have never left the child, so don't want to. Even though they're coming to us for respite care, they might want to stay, certainly for the first few visits till they get the feel of how the staff are going to care for their loved one. And again, on the adult unit, particularly if time is short and families are staying with us, we have single rooms that have got bed settees in, and we do have a guest room as well if it's a bigger family, so that people can have a shower and a rest while staying very close to their loved one. And that works really, really well for us because it's a time to support the family, a time to let the family have time being a family, being a carer, rather than being at home. Sometimes it gets very heavy looking after someone at the very end of their life. And people just need that help and support, and also to know that all they need to do is press the buzzer and professional help will come through the door.
We're mixing around with some microphones here, I think. I might just have one. Are we on again? Give it a try.
Keep trying.
Is what about the length of time that people can stay looking after or assisting their relatives in some way? In relation to the number of beds you've got, the number of requests for that care.
Yeah, and this is a real tension for us. We only have 15 inpatient beds, and sometimes if people come in for care and support but are stabilising, we will look to get people home again, or occasionally nursing home and other care facilities, because we're not a long stay care facility. We can't, because if we keep somebody in for 6 months, we might want to do that, they might want to stay with us, but then other people at home very ill and dying mightn't be able to get in, so we do move people on. But what we try and do is, if people are coming to the end of their life, if there's a deterioration, if we can see that time is short, we would be talking to that patient and family about where's the best place to be. Do you want to stay with us? And you can stay in however long that is. Our average length of stay tends to be around about 20 days. So that's the average. So some people stay longer and some people stay a lot shorter. Some people come in, frankly, get sorted out and get back home very quickly because that's what they want to do. But other people where life is coming to an end, you can't put a clock on it. You can't say you can only stay 4 days, and if you haven't died, you have to go home. It's all weighed up really by the clinical team as to where people are going.
What sort of training or extra training do your staff get? Because almost by definition, it's a very emotive and stressful for both the staff and the patients.
Yes, it is a specialist area. We do have a lot of staff who have formal academic training in palliative and end-of-life care. Our doctors are consultants in palliative medicine. They've trained for 4 years to become consultants. We have other trainee doctors, trainee GPs and trainee consultants. And we have lots of our nursing staff and other clinical staff have formal qualifications. I'm not a great one for thinking just because you've got a piece of paper you're good, but I've seen a lot of people who are good get even better with formal qualifications, so there's a bit of a balance. And we spend a lot of time training staff, talking to staff, and also, you're right, supporting staff, because it's very difficult. And it's very difficult to look after people who might be the same age as you, or look like your mum, or remind you of your grandfather. So there's an emotional toll there, and children and young adults looking after young people dying feels very unnatural. So yes, staff support's very important.
And how much do they just have an open door policy with you, or do talk to them every
staff,
now and then,
yeah.
how they're getting on, you know.
Yeah, there's a mixture of formal and informal. We do have a formal counselling service in-house. We can refer people. An awful lot of it's around colleagues saying, that was really tough, shall we have a cup of tea? Or, you looked after Mary yesterday and we can see it's hard, shall we look after them today? So the managers, the team leaders, the ward sisters do an awful lot of support for the staff on the ground. And the hospice really is a community. We are a bit of like a family, and we do look after ourselves, or we try to, and hopefully we also can be aware when we need to go for extra support and ask for formal help, because it can be hard.
Well, thanks very much for that, for the company. I'm sure
You're welcome. Absolutely.
I find it very interesting.
Good.
Especially at the level where emotion comes in with the staff as well as the patients.
Well,
so thank you both very much.
You're welcome.
Out of it, yes.
No, thank you very much. Thank you for asking us.